Welcome to my life. Let's shine on light. We don't talk about sin. Welcome to my life. Let's shine on light. We don't talk about swim. We don't talk about swim.
Hello. So this is why we don't talk about swim. So this is the monthly podcast talking about the lack of, shall I say, diversity in the aquatic sector with regards to African, Caribbean and Asian communities. I constantly talk about the statistics and the amount of people within our community that do not swim. I, as someone who only just recently learned to swim, was part of those high statistics. So that's what we talk about in this conversation. But we also talk about other issues within our community. Today I have a very special guest. We've crossed paths in many places, but we have never met. So I managed to get her onto the show, and today we're going to have an amazing conversation. The person I'm talking about is a lady by the name of Abena Gray. She's a swimming instructor or coach or I don't know. I once got told off by saying, calling somebody a swimming instructor. She goes, no, I'm not a swimming instructor. I'm a swimming coach or something like that. So it shows my ignorance when it comes to swimming. To me, somebody who teaches is a swimming instructor, but obviously not. So I will let Abena introduce herself and tell you exactly what she is and what she does. Abena, over to you.
Thank you. And firstly, thanks for having me. And yes, it's nice to be here because I know we've worked on a lot of similar projects. We have a lot of friends as well in similar audience. So it's nice to finally meet you in person. And thanks for having me. So how would I describe what I do? Basically, I am Abena Gray. I am the founder of a swimming school called Goggle and Giggle. And I've run that swimming school now since 2010. Just over 12 years. I would say at the core of things, I'm a swimming teacher, instructor, coach. There's, different times throughout the day or different times throughout my life, I've had to play different roles. And as the owner of a swimming school, there's times when I've had to play different roles. So I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm just one role, being the owner of the swimming school and having to manage the day-to-day operation and, of what comes with running a swimming school. So yes, that's basically what I do.
Wow, impressive.
Thank you.
So you must be tired doing all those roles,
Yes, I am. I'm very exhausted. I am really exhausted. But you know what? It gives me, there's moments where I ask myself, why do I keep doing this? Or why do I keep doing this? I'm much older now than when I started the swimming.
No, you're not. You're a little baby.
No. I'm much older now. And so there's an element to me that asks myself, like, when are you going to stop? Or, but every time I sort of think about giving up or stopping, or I even try to walk away from the school, it drives me back. Because I'm very much passionate about it. I love the fact that I get to give back, seeing children and adults over a period of time improving themselves and gaining this life-saving skills. It's beautiful. And so, unlike yourself, most of my time is spent in the day-to-day operation, so on the actual floor of running the swimming school, the ins and outs, the pros and the cons. So often I don't, I tend to be a little bit more behind the scene rather than, I'm more of a behind the scene leader.
Okay.
I would say.
So let's go to the beginning. let's go to right at the beginning.
Yes.
Firstly, when did you learn how to swim, and how did you become the owner of a swim school? I mean, but let's just go to the beginning. Where did the journey start?
Okay, so I'm originally from Jamaica. I was brought up in a place called Portland, which is, for anyone that knows Portland, Jamaica, we're surrounded by lots of water. So I was fortunate enough to already had that experience from a young age. So growing up in that environment, we had, by the beach, by the river, by the lake. I will always, it was part of my childhood. Like where I am from, everyone swim. All my family, all my cousins, we all went to the river, and we might, it wasn't the thing of where we swam well technically, but we could all survive in the water, and we loved the water. And the water it's always been a safe place for me, and it still is. It's probably, I call it my meditation, my place of meditation. So whenever I am under the water, I always feel a level of serenity, peace. Whatever is going on in my life, once I go for a swim, it always brings me back to that place of peace. So yes.
So at what stage did you decide to become someone who's going to teach, who's going to, educate people?
It wasn't, it wasn't a plan. It wasn't a plan. I think at the time I was at college, apart from swimming on the weekends and things. When I was I remembered my first experience of, for example, moving from Jamaica to the UK. I remember being around 8 or 9 and being at school and going for swimming lessons, and my teachers being absolutely shocked that I could swim, because where I'm from, we all swam confidently. So I thought it was quite natural and I thought every child swam, and I couldn't believe that there was children of my age that didn't swim, because it was just coming natural to me. I swim, my brother swim, my sister swim, we all swim, and that was just my background. So when I had moved to the UK, I'd participated in various swimming competitions, done quite well, and then I would say probably when I was about 19, I was at college at the time, and naturally loving the water, I did a lifeguarding course. And then from doing a lifeguarding course, I then, being on the poolside every day, and then as part of my CPD at work, I jumped onto a swimming instructor course. And at the time, I had a fantastic manager at that point who had basically encouraged me and said, well, after doing the course, you're an amazing teacher. And so I then picked up some swimming teaching work, just being a young woman at the time, not thinking that I was going to go further in this. But as I started and embarked on that journey of teaching, I realized I was naturally gravitating to the children that were much weaker in the class. I found myself wanting to help more, and I would see these children like once a week for 30 minutes. And I would love, I would see them for 2 or 3 hours a week, and I really loved that moment and I enjoyed it. And seeing them progress over that period of the term was always, I always sort of challenged myself as well to I used to say to myself, I'm going to get this and this child to swim, or I'm going to help them to go under the water, or be more confident in breathing, or being able to jump in. So I would challenge myself, and seeing that the parents were happy and seeing that the child was happy, that was sort of my motive. So from there, I then went to my boss one day and I said, look, I'm teaching these children and I find that I would love for them to get some more one-to-one lessons, because I feel like, I'm seeing them once a week and I feel like some of them could really do with some one-to-one lessons. And so that's how Goggle and Giggle started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing it?
So I've had, I started off in October 2010. I think that's when I officially started. Goggle and Giggle registered as a swimming school in 2012. And so, yes, I went and I started off in one lane. And this was I'm still at that pool at this moment. So we started off there in one lane and I got fully booked to the point where I needed more help. And so I then employed someone, and that's how the journey started. So I employed someone and then I employed someone, and the school has grown since then. And
wow.
Yeah, so that's basically how I started.
So you're a black woman.
Yes, I am.
You are, and I'm saying this because some people may be listening to this rather than watching it.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make things very obvious.
Yes.
So you're a black woman.
Yes.
Who has a swimming school.
Yes.
And we already know that African, Caribbean, and Asians, we do not gravitate towards swimming like everyone else.
Yes.
So there's an issue there. So how what I'm trying to say is that has there been any challenges?
Oh wow! Yes.
With what you're doing, and I'm saying, and what I'm trying to say, challenges based on around you being a black woman as opposed to probably a white person doing exactly the same thing. Have there been any notable challenges?
Yes. Look, I can only speak from personal experiences, and I have white Caucasian friends, and when I know, when I have discussion with them and stuff, often our experiences are not the same. I do feel, and as I said, this is my personal opinion, I feel sometimes as a woman and as a black woman, sometimes people ask me, in the past, I've been asked what is special about your swimming school. And I feel like in some ways that is what makes the school special. But I do feel as a black woman at times I've often had to overcompensate. I find at times I have to apologize a little bit more. And I also find that sometimes being in leadership, because of what I do, I'm in a more, it's a male dominant area. And so I still, up to now, after 12 years of running a swimming school, I will still have parents that walk onto poolside and naturally go to my white Caucasian male colleague and thinks he's in charge. So those are some of what happens after a while. It's interesting because as I was coming up here, I was thinking about some of those narrative I've had to just learn to live with. And I've had to just cope with them. And when you, especially with what I do, I don't really have anyone or that I can reach out to apart from family or friends, but I run a different form of business. And of course, yes, everybody runs, or anyone in business or entrepreneurships, there's always difficulties and there's always challenges. But I find with running a swimming school, sometimes I feel a lack of understanding. I feel alone. I know this is happening because of my color of my skin, and I'm in a place that often I'm consistently told that or shown that I'm not supposed to be or
Wow.
I'm not supposed to be here. And people have said to me in the past, oh, you've done very well for yourself. Or, certain clienteles that I've had the experiences, of working with some very high end, in being in very, what should we say, prestigious clubs, high end clients. And so naturally, as a Black woman, they will look at me and say, you are, oh, you've done very well, or, how did you get into this? I've turned up to clients' house and they've asked me, do you swim yourself? Or it's only last week I was referred to, I went to, well, actually, I wasn't teaching, but I went to see a member of staff on a home visit at this client, and she had introduced me and said, look, my manager or the owner of the swimming school is just coming in today to watch me teach the class, just to make sure everything. And, I just do stop-bys and stuff, like just to make sure the clients are happy and the day-to-day of the swimming school is going well. And his reply was, where is she? And my colleague was like, that's her. She's the owner. And he said, oh, does she swim herself? Mm-hmm. And he then said, oh, this will make a wonderful dinner party story.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like...
Wow. This day and age.
Yes. And I'm consistently, I'm consistently asked. It's so funny because I'm consistently asked at all point, do you swim? Or can you swim? And I ask myself, when my male colleagues turn up, no one asks him. No one, I'm asked on the spot to prove myself. Yeah. And sometimes I ask myself, is it because of my color of my skin? Or is it because of the way I look? Or do I not look fit? Do I not look healthy? What is it? Do I look like...
That unconscious bias.
Yeah, it's challenging because it's a hard one, but only there's a saying that we say that is you only feel what you can kind of see, right? Mm-hmm. You only feel it, and it's a hard one because there is positive to being in these positions. I always think, for example, when I have 20 or 30 kids we have a pool in one of the most deprived areas in London, which I don't like to necessarily use that words, but when those children come onto the poolside, a lot of the time they're Black, Asian children, I already see and feel I feel like I can see and feel and help. So I know that they need a hat. I know that, before they came in, they're full of, the parents would have given them lots of moisturizer. There's those things that you can't take away because it's culture. Mm-hmm. And I think when we often talk about diversity, but I think for me, it's about understanding of the culture. Yeah. And I think being in this position at times, understanding that culture and where they're coming from, because I often stand on the poolside, and whilst I'm standing there, I can see myself in that little girl. I know this is her first time in the water. I know what she's thinking. I know this is the experiences. I know I have an idea what she's feeling in her body, what she's going through, what is going in her mind, going in the water, all those conversation and thoughts and things, I feel like I can relate to. So whether it's how to put her hat on properly on the poolside, or to have that conversation, I feel I'm lucky enough at times to be in that position and to be able to help.
Yeah. Yeah, and what they call, I think it's what's called an unfair advantage.
Yes.
Because you've experienced it, your best in position. Because a lot of time I get people asking me, since I started this campaign, the Black Counseling campaign, I started in 2018, based on my personal journey. I've only recently just learned to swim, or just about anyway. I hid behind the stereotypes, the stigmas, and all that kind of thing all my life. And so a lot of people ask me, oh, I really want to learn to swim now. Can you introduce me to what do you call it, a black instructor.
Yes.
Because I want, and I asked, why a black instructor? And they go, "Oh, because I want somebody who understands the challenges."
Yes.
And they say, "Oh, I've been to, I've been to swimming schools and it just doesn't work because
Yes.
they just can't understand why."
Yes.
And there's we'll come back to these challenges, but one thing I want to say here before I forget
Yes.
is, and for the record, this is not an interview, this is just a conversation, so therefore I say whatever comes to my mind. And sometimes when things come to my mind, I have to say it then and there before,
Yes.
otherwise I'll forget about it.
Yes.
The heavy bones.
Oh God. Yes.
The heavy bones.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to me about that. I'm pretty sure you've got things to say about that. I mean,
Look, you know what? You probably not like what I'm about to say, and lots of black
Go
people
for it.
probably do. I can understand why they would think, or I wouldn't say they. I can understand why people would think like that. But like I have a thing, and as I said, everything I say today is from my personal experiences with my clients, or with my female and black adult women, children, everyone. I always say to my clients, think about being efficient and graceful in the water, because I feel like we have that strength, the power. We do move through the water a lot stronger. That's just from my experience. So I feel like with my black clients, I tend to think about letting them slow down and be a little bit more graceful in the water, because naturally I feel like we're strong. We are strong as a people. We're stronger. And we move differently in the water. So I think it's about understanding that, and also accepting it. I think there's an element of we must acknowledge these things. So from a teaching point of view, I always say, and if anyone's listening, I always think my thing is I always go back to breathing. Breathing is the fundamental of it all.
That's one single thing I have problem with.
Yeah. So once you know how to
breathe,
everything else, for me, from my experience, will come along naturally. So we can always get faster. We can always improve our technique, but the breathing is fundamental. That is the foundation of the stroke. So once we are able to breathe properly and understand the concept of breathing in the water, we are great athletes.
Good. So I'm not gonna let you get away with this. I'm gonna bring you back to the beginning of the conversation.
Yes.
About the heavy bones.
Okay.
So are you saying that there is an element of truth based on how we move, rather than the actual physical size of the density of our bones or something? How we act, because we are very good on land.
We're very good on land. If you can see, we have some of the greatest athletes in the world. And that's another thing. In athletics, in basketball, football, we have some of the greatest athletes. Now, to answer you in a diplomatic way,
I don't like diplomatic way. No. We don't do diplomatic here.
No. I wouldn't say it's necessarily true, but what I do, from my personal experience, I do think we have a particular strength, and we need to work a little bit more harder.
I mean, I don't like your politician. You're talking like a politician now. I don't like this politics business.
We need to work a little bit harder in the water of being graceful and efficient. That's what I would say.
I'm not going to get it out of you, am I?
I think you have. But no, I think, look, there is, I think, look, I'm not a scientist or, I can only talk from my experience.
And on that particular note,
yes.
So as you know, I'm a co-founder of the Black Swimming Association.
Yes.
And we are working with RNLI
Okay.
and Portsmouth University, and I'm about to embark on a, shall I say, a physiology research
Oh, wow.
around this subject, around the subject of heavy bones.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people within the community that actually believe that I can't float because I'm black. There are actually swimming instructors telling people that, so maybe the reason why you're struggling is because of this. So the earlier we are able to do this research and put it to bed, put this myth to bed, the better. Because at least it takes away that one thing that, someone says, because there's so many people out there that think swimming is not for black people. It's a white person's,
It's not.
So it's a big issue, and I've heard so many stories from people telling that I interviewed Alice Deering, the only black swimmer in Team GB,
Yes.
and also co-founder of the Black Swimming Association. Before even we set up the organization, I interviewed her, and she mentioned about someone who told her that I don't believe I can do it because I've been told by my instructor that this is the case.
Yes.
So it's happening.
It's a story that I've heard, and I've had, black clients said the same thing to me. They will call up and they will said, "Look, I've taken a course at this particular leisure center, and the instructor reckons that being black, often as well as men who are being told this, that because I can't float or I can't, I need to learn how to float first before I can learn to swim."
Yeah.
So I've had that as well. But look, I think again, it's the approach, and I think with everything you need to have a strategy. And one of our methodology at Goggle and Giggle is that we teach from inside of the water. And so we do that because I believe that from teaching inside of the water, you're able to gain, you're able to give that client a certain amount of confidence. And so often it's being able to understand the client and understand the needs that is required. Because some of the time you will find that it's because of the fear of water, they're unable to float. Nothing to do with floating, but because there's a whole fear around water, there's anxiety. So those clients naturally come in to the water and you see that their shoulders are high, they're tight. Yes. And so at that point, if you tell that person to be able to float, they're not. They've got fear of water. They don't even want the water touching their ears. So if you ask that person to lay on their back and float, they're not relaxed. So it's about breaking down those things, having, doing things step by step by step by step. Again, going back to the breathing, once that person's able to breathe and feel comfortable in the water and understanding the right way of breathing, we can then discuss things like going on to floating. Yeah. So again, sometimes it's like, again, I talk from an instructor point of view, it's about understanding why these things are happening. Because naturally, in the water, if you are doing this and you're panicking, your body is heavy, you become heavier, which then makes you more prone to sink. So if you're not relaxed, which is easy for me to say, relax. And, if you're not relaxed, then you're not going to be able to float.
And I think I could talk a lot about this because I have been in this situation and sometimes I'm still in this situation. If you're a child, right, and a young person learning how to swim is very different from an adult.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that if there's got to be something physical under me, otherwise I'm gonna fall. And then I've walked on ground all my life, so I know. So when I'm in the water and I don't feel anything below me, it's like panic.
It's the element of control. You feel out of control.
Control, that's right. Yeah.
And so if you feel out of, again, like that's why, again, going back to our methodologies, that we believe in confidence. And once you feel confident, you become competent. Yeah. It's like anything we do in adults. For example, I am in my school, I'm a bad accountant. If you say to me, get a Excel spreadsheet and start, naturally I start huffing and puffing because I don't feel confident about doing it. But, since I've kind of done a course and, I have an accountant and having able to ask those questions and stuff, I feel more confident. Does that make sense? So it's about understanding, and a lot of the time when we feel confident and when we feel competent in things, then that will give us the confidence. But yes, to get back to your point, I think it is vital that as a community, I feel like there's a lot of focus around, at the moment, Black diversity. But it's about understanding as well the psychological parts of things. Once you break things down, we're able to have answers. Yeah. It's not just about why Black children don't swim or Black people. It's about understanding the psychology. Once we understand the psychology of these things, and again, for me, culture is a massive part of it. Once we are able to understand or have a better understanding of those things, we are then able to identify these problems. Because a lot of people, as I said, will say to you, I can't float, but they're not relaxed in the water. They can't even stand. Like, you ask the average, you ask a person who says to you, I can't float, there's a 60% chance they can't even walk in water.
Walk in water?
Yeah, they just, and so you say, well, how are you going to learn to float if you're not even comfortable with your shoulders in the water? So being able just to walk flat in the water, standing tall and what, these are all skills. Mm-hmm. So often I think, again, we want to make a big jump. Mm-hmm. We want to make a massive jump. You want to go in. And swimming is not like any other sport. It's all about coordination. It's all like you have to have balance. Yeah. And you have to be, I always say to my clients, you have to try and be in alignment with the water. Try and be at one with the water. Don't go in and think you're going to control the water. Let the water control you. But once again, these things are easy for me to say as an instructor. But it's about, it's about being graceful and we can't approach, you can't approach swimming, I think anyway, like going to the gym. Yeah. You have to understand, in a way, I use the word higher power. The water it's a higher power. So try and, I say to my clients, work with the water. If the water goes with you this way, you go with that water that way. Try not to be in control of the water.
Wow. I learn something new every day. So you've already said that back home, everybody in your environment, most community swam. So at least there's water confidence and that kind of thing. So in the UK, it's your friends and family around you. What's the story there? Do they swim?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
Look, I think they know. Being a swimming instructor, I try to make my closest, all my sisters swim competently and brothers swim competently. That's just because, again, our background. But majority of my friends don't swim. But then also there's also other factors. Again, we go back to culture. It could be, again, lack of understanding. It could be water, the thing about the hair. Again, we go back to the thing about skin. And also, I think, look, the other day I went to see my sister and I said to her, come and have a swim with me. And she came down and she was just like, I find it so intimidating. And I guess I'm just used to it because she was like, it's, you walk onto the poolside in my local club. You walk onto the poolside and there is, she's like, there's 3 or 4 white male men she's trying to swim and they're all going up and down, up and down, up and down. And she says to me, how do you cope with this? Like, this guy's just swimming up me. But I've gotten so used to it, and being in an environment, I think I now take it for granted. I'm so used to being the only one there. So if for me now, I'm a bit of a, she's like, you know, I just chase them down the lane. So I pick on the fastest guy in the lane and just chase him for half an hour. That's just probably my way of getting a good workout. But I think, look, once again, and in that case, I then realized that I take it for granted in the sense of where we have to also be the change that we want to see, and we tend to gravitate to where we see more of us, you know. So I know, for example, when I was at school, naturally my teachers all thought that I would be better at athletics. And I got more support in my athletic career than I did in my swimming. I probably would have gone much further in my swimming if they had believed. And even my own parent, you know, even my own mother and father, I remember when I told my mother and my sister that I was going to have my own swimming school, they laughed. They literally turned around. My mom and sister turned around and laughed and said, just go and get a normal job. Or, what do you mean a swimming school? How does that even work? Or, you know, like, no, you can't. How can? And now sometimes I look back and I think 12 years later, I'm still, it's all I've done in a way. I haven't really done anything else in my career, if that makes sense. This is, you know, all I've kind of done and been.
Well, that's good. I've got one question.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of new swimming schools popping up.
Yes,
in the last few years, I've seen a lot of, and I had a lady from Bristol.
Yes.
Mentioned to me that she goes, "Thank you very much for what you're doing with the campaign, with the Black Can Swim campaign." And I go, "Okay, why?" And she goes, "Because you've inspired me to start a swimming school." And I go, "Wow, okay." If, you know, and I've always said, if by what we're doing here with this campaign, if it changes one person's, thought process on swimming and water safety, or saves a life, then it's been worth it.
Yes.
But I've now seen a lot of these swim schools saying that, you can learn to swim in 4 days or in the week, or I mean, is that true?
Again, a lack of understanding.
Because
that's again a lack of understanding. It depends it depends again on what you call swimming. It depends from a swimming teacher's point of view. But yes, I think, look, I know you shared some with me the other day. I'm not very, I spend a lot of time away from social media and away. But yes, I'm very happy to see. Often, people say to me, "Abena, you should be doing more. You where are you?" I'm very much hidden behind the scene, but I've been doing this for 12 years. And so it's pleasing to see. But I guess for me, I come from a swimming school background. And yes, I understand that there is an importance for Black people to swim. I understand that. But I believe by being the forefront and being, I guess in some ways, I am the brand of my swimming school. I think it's important for every culture to learn to swim. Diversity. And so often it's like, I'm not saying that. I understand that we are lower in proportion to those who don't need to swim. I understand that. But I feel like it's important to have diversity and inclusion. I don't believe in exclusion. I don't. So I think we need to be careful here. And at Goggle and Giggle, that's my thing, and I hope that is what we're coming across, is that I want to have a school, or in my leadership, I've had people ask me, for example, wow, there's no black swimming instructor here, or but for me, I'm open and I understand this, but I believe in diversity, and I believe that we must be compassionate in everything that we are doing. And I love the idea that there are more swimming school coming through, and there are more people taking this up. And it is a life-saving skill. It's the only sport that can save your life and someone else's life. And so that's my stand on it, and that's what I think is important. I think in order for us to move forward and make it inclusive for everyone, we need to include everyone.
Yeah.
So I don't, whilst I think as a black woman, I bear a certain responsibility and I relate to those problems. I don't personally believe in exclusion or focusing on this one concept. There is a problem and we need to solve it. And my thing is that we have to be the change that we have to see. And sometimes, we need to have that chair at the table.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to bring your own chair, and then sometimes someone else will bring your own chair. And we're here to help each other, and that's how we're going to improve, and that's how we're going to grow. But we're not going to get, the whole thing around it is that we must be compassionate at the core of what we're doing.
That's very, very well said, and it hits so many points. When you're saying, I was listening to them, I said that there's a lot of things in my head that I see it. I can picture it.
Yes.
And for instance, from a point of inclusion, I get a lot of people say to me, and it's usually white people, and every time, and I can guarantee that every time I interview Sky News or BBC, and it goes on social media, I can guarantee I'll get comments like, why the Blacks Can't Swim come up? Why is it called Blacks Can't Swim?
Yeah.
Why and such, and then I explain that those that want to, are prepared to listen. I say, the reason why I call the campaign Blacks Can't Swim was based on my personal journey, because I believed I couldn't swim, based on these stereotypes, based on these myths, and based on these stigmas. So basically, by calling the film calling it Blacks Can't Swim, I'm talking about my personal journey. And I want to admit, when I first started in 2018, I didn't really expect it to come this far.
Yes.
And I didn't sit down and have a plan that, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make another film documentary, then I'm going to co-found the Black Swimming Association. That was not, I was just talking about my journey, film documentary about my personal journey and what I've heard and what I've seen from people around me, talking about their personal journeys. And as a result, we found out that it's much bigger than us.
Yes.
This is a bigger picture.
It is a bigger picture.
I remember when I started the campaign in end of 2018, beginning of 2019, we didn't have the swimming Sport England's Active Life survey.
Yeah.
So those figures of 20% or 95% of black adults and 80% of black children, we didn't have that.
Yes.
So, but when those figures came out, I was like, wow. So the picture is much bigger than what we see.
Yes.
And I met up with, I met with Alice Deering, Seren Jones, and Danielle, and we sat down together and we co-founded the Black Swimming Association because we found that there was no representation for people like ourselves in our community. But going back to what you said, it's about everybody benefiting from water safety, drowning prevention. Everybody having the opportunity to stay alive. Yeah.
It's a life-saving skill, and I can tell you something. The longer I'm now, in some ways, I am now seeing the reverse or things. I am now actually, maybe I've been doing this too long, I'm now getting and seeing a higher proportion of white children coming in unable to swim.
But there you are.
More.
There
So
you are.
there, that's also, and that is now, I can see that coming through. So again, we need to look at different factors, whether it's the economical factors of what's going on, the underfunding of pools at the moment, I know that since I've started 10 years ago, what I'm now paying in pool rent has tripled. It's tripled. So that in itself, it's making it more exclusive. It's a very expensive sport to start. Before any child comes in, they've got to have goggles, they've got to have hats. If you're a child, for example, who need specialized goggles, I think a pair of those goggles is like £70. If you're a mother and you got 2 or 3 kids, already it's an exclusive sport. So there's so many different barriers and factors to understanding this. Unlike athletics, it's probably easier just to get a pair of trainers. So there is so many different sides to this. And again, I think it's about, my thing is I try and help where I can and understand. But again, I feel like we need to understand and look at things on a bigger scope and be compassionate to each other and in each other and be that. I don't think if we continue this exclusive stand, I don't think long term it's going to work. It's a life-saving skill. Yeah. It's a skill that every child, every adult should gain. It can save your life. It can save another person's life. It's important. It can take you through not only that from the physical benefit, but the mental benefit. Those children, for example, with sensory issues, autism, there's so much great benefit to learning to swim. What it does for your mental health, what it does for young people in their confidence, the breathing. There's so much to it. So it's about understanding those benefits as well and putting across those benefits of why we should learn to swim, because the benefits are so wide.
Well said.
The benefits are so wide. So rather than just looking at it as a skill that we need to gain, look at the wider scope of it, the psychological benefits, the mental health benefits of the gain that you gain, because I know for me, it's helped me in so many different ways.
Oh, I love it. We can talk forever.
Can't we?
So, could you...
I hope I'm not boring you.
Oh, hell no, definitely not.
I often get in trouble. So if my sisters was here, they will say, don't talk to Abena. Don't talk to Abena about swimming because you've just opened a can of worms. So I can talk about this all day, every day.
So, Abena, so I know people are going to be watching this or listening to this, and they'll be like, I want somebody who I can relate to, to teach me how to swim.
Yes.
So where can people find you? How can people find you?
So at the moment, as I said, we have a swimming school called Goggle and Giggle. We are based in London. We've got a branch on Tottenham Court Road. We've also got one in Bermondsey. We've also got a pool as well in Waterloo. And so majority of my time, I'm trying to get back into teaching, but I tend to spend most of my time now in behind the scene. But please reach out. I'm here to support, and I will help wherever I can, whether that's in the water or out of the water. And if there's anyone that I can mentor or mentee in, or I'm here, and that's what I believe, and for me, I would like us to grow the school and produce more children and more adults to gain this life-saving skill, because I truly believe at the core of it, it's a skill, and once we can learn and enjoy and be in the water, we're gonna all long term be benefited. Good.
That's perfect. All the details will be here. So when we edit, we'll put all the details here. So if anybody wants to contact you,
yes, just email me or give me a call. I'm here. I spend a lot of my time, in the day-to-day operation. So yes, but yes, I will be running some courses probably after April. Yes, I'm here.
Good.
Feel free to reach out.
Last question.
Yes.
Your name.
Abena.
Abena. How? So you pronounce it Abena.
Abena. So it's actually a Ghanaian name, which I know you are.
Yes. So basically, Abena is, in Ghana we say Abena.
Yes, they say Abena.
Abena.
And
yeah.
my sister is called Efia.
Yeah, Efia.
Yes.
Abena is someone born on Tuesday.
Tuesdays, yes.
Efia is Friday.
Yes.
I'm Kwabena.
Kwabena.
So I'm Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
so
Beautiful.
when I was like, how does she pronounce it? Is it
Yes.
Abena or Abena? So yeah.
So I'm originally from Jamaica, but yes, my mom loved the name and gave me the name Abena. So again, when I moved to London, everyone was like, "Are you Ghanaian?" I'm like, "No." But you guys say Abena, but I'm Abena.
No, Abena.
Yes, Abena.
Yeah, you're my twin sister. Many years younger, but you're my twin sister.
I'm not as young, honestly. I'm not feeling that young anymore.
Well,
I used to be young, but I'm not anymore.
You are. You're still a little baby.
No. Honestly, you'll be surprised.
Well, thank you very, very much for coming on Why We Don't Talk About Swimming. It's been very insightful and very, very
Thank you.
entertaining.
I hope it was okay
Very,
and I didn't bore you.
No, you didn't. You definitely didn't. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And I've been great in the house.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.